Hey folks, Zach Osterman here, Insider Indianapolis Star. Forgive me, my voice is pretty much gone. But flying solo today, Mike Nisley still in Minneapolis. Talking about Indiana 65, Michigan State 64. Hoosiers finish their regular season on a 4-game win streak, 18-13 overall, 10-10 in Big Ten play. A lot to unpack from tonight, or this afternoon, this evening, kind of however you want to see it. Starting with the game itself, really a game of almost kind of 3/3 for Indiana. The first third, Indiana just blitzed Michigan State early. They ran out to a 20-5 lead to start the game. Then Trey Galloway left with I don't know if you call it a recurrence or an aggravation of a knee injury, whatever it might have been. He left the game, and from there was pretty much a stretch where Michigan State took the game over. Indiana really sort of got stale offensively in particular. You could tell how badly. This is the sort of game that tells you how important Trey Galloway has become for this team, because you see how much he's missed when he's not on the floor. Indiana went from up 20. I think that their lead, the large portion of their lead, however you want to say that, crested at 24-7. And then Michigan State came back and just kind of steadily ate into it both sides of halftime, eventually led by as many as 7, 55-48. With 9:48 left in the game. And then Indiana really dug in. Mackenzie Mbako and Xavier Johnson hit back-to-back threes that really kind of turned momentum back in Indiana's favor. Indiana grinded out a ton of stops defensively. If you look at that sort of high watermark for Michigan State, 9:48 left in the game. Michigan State led 55-48. They only scored 9 points the last 9:48 of the game. Indiana got a hold of Tyson Walker, who was really the only player Michigan State got going consistently on the offensive end. Indiana kind of got to a place where it stopped turning the ball over and really force-fed its bigs. In particular, Malik Renew finished with 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and kel'el Ware, probably the player of the game. It's probably fair to say 28 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, a couple blocks. Just once again, he's kind of on this streak of frankly dominant performances that have got to give Indiana, I think, some real hope going into the Big Ten tournament. They'll either be, at time of recording, I guess, depending on the outcome of the Iowa-Illinois game. If Iowa wins, Indiana will be the 7th seed. If Illinois wins, Indiana will be the 6th seed. So, if you're Indiana, you're going to get a lower-seeded team to start on Thursday. It's going to be Thursday evening, either early evening or late evening. And you're going to get, obviously, maybe a path to the title game that, in theory, I should say a path to the title game is probably a better way to phrase that. That does not include having to face Purdue until, if you got there, if you were Indiana, you played in the Big Ten championship game. So on the floor, a continuation of a number of these games where we've seen Indiana kind of maybe, have some high moments, have some real low moments. Today in particular, I think you could see the offense really bogging down. 35% from the floor, 6 of 17 from behind the three-point line, only 5 of 12 from the free throw line. kel'el Ware missed his first 5 free throws, but the 6th one, which he hit, wound up being the game winner. So another one of these games, kind of like Wisconsin, kind of like Iowa, kind of like Maryland, where Indiana just kind of had to basically just get itself in a position to play some winning basketball the last 5-7 minutes and then do that. And it means Indiana finishes the regular season on a 4-game win streak off the court, or I guess after the game, however you want to see that. Senior night, Anthony Walker and Xavier Johnson say goodbye. Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal, that's what I'm trying to say, announced that they're not saying goodbye. They will be back for a 5th season. Both of them pretty effusive, pretty stubborn, I would say, in their praise or their defense of Mike Woodson. Leal in particular said, basically, there's not another coach in the country I'd trust like Mike Woodson, and, we love you all as IU fans, but you got to chill out. Those were his words. I think he said, y'all got to chill out. Mike Woodson was also pretty defiant. He just said, I'm the coach. I'm here. My body of work, I think, speaks for itself. So you kind of get the sense of, maybe a coach and the 2 players that I think we can assume will be his senior captains next year, trying to draw a line under everything that's kind of gone through, these last, few days in terms of speculation on Mike Woodson's job, in terms of maybe, feeling of kind of a degree of negative momentum building up around the program. all of this kind of stuff. Obviously, those sorts of things only ultimately sort of get addressed, for better or worse, with results. But I think it is fair to say that Woodson, suggestions that sort of Woodson has just kind of completely lost his locker room probably are wide of the mark based on a lot of the public pronouncements today. And also just frankly, these last couple weeks, Indiana has, put together its first win streak of any real note in Big Ten play. I guess the only other one they had would have been that 2-0 stretch in early December. In that stretch, they've beaten 2 KenPom top 25 teams. They've picked up, I think, 3 quad 1 wins. They're still a ways off the NCAA tournament bubble, but, kel'el Ware, or maybe it was Xavier Johnson, I think it was Xavier Johnson, said at the game basically, there were plenty of times when, maybe a few weeks ago we would have quit, in some of these games, and we just didn't, basically one of the big differences, he said, is we haven't been quitting. There have been times when we've been given opportunities to quit these last couple of weeks, and we've just kept fighting, and we've gotten the results to go our way. So Hoosiers go to Minneapolis with some momentum. Trey Galloway also suggested, despite maybe limping around a little bit post-game, that he thinks he'll be good for the Big Ten tournament next week in Minneapolis. And again, I guess I'll look up while we're talking about this, the Iowa-Illinois score. Illinois is up 9 with 15:25 left in the second half. I think that lead was as big as about 15, 17 points. So Illinois has been in control of that game for a while, but it seems like Iowa is trying to creep back into it. Again, if you're watching this and you don't know, but the result of that game is sort of finalized, Indiana is the 6th seed if Iowa loses and the 7th seed if Iowa wins. So we'll leave it there for now. For the Indianapolis Star, I'm Zach Osterman. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in Minneapolis.